Well, the third class lever, just like other levers, has a fulcrum or the pivot. It also has an input force or effort that you put in to do the work. And it also has the load. The load is the object that is being moved. The fulcrum of the third class lever is on the end, just like the second class lever. The input force or the point of effort is in the center of the lever. The output force is on the other end of the lever. The ideal mechanical advantage of a third class lever is actually less than 1. This is because the input force of a third class lever is more than the output force. This is always the case when the input force is closer to the fulcrum than the output force. So if this is the case, why do people even need third class levers and how do they help? Third class levers are actually really important. There is more force required to move the load, but the load can now travel a farther distance at a faster speed. The third class lever uses the input force over a greater output distance. That is how the third class lever makes work easier. It increases the output distance of the load. The greater output distance increases the speed work can be done with the machine as well. 2 examples of this are on your own arm. If you look at your arm from the top view, you can see your load is whatever you're holding, your fulcrum or pivot is near your shoulder, and your input force is around your muscle area. The load or the output force moves a greater distance. Another example of a third class lever on your arm is when you lift something, just like this. The pivot or fulcrum is near your elbow, the load is whatever you're lifting, and the input force is where your muscle is. Third class levers can be commonly found in sports. One example of this is hockey. Here we have Claude Giroux. As you can see, he also uses the machine to his advantage. The hockey stick is a great example of a third class lever. The fulcrum is where Giroux holds his stick. The input force is where the force he exerts it at. It's at where he holds his second hand. The output force is at the bottom of the hockey stick. It uses the input force over a greater distance to hit the puck. My last example of a third class lever is a broom. It has its fulcrum at the top of the handle as it pivots around it. The force you input is near the center of the broom. The output force is at the bottom of the broom. The load or the bottom of the broom moves at a faster speed at a larger distance. Tweezers, tongs, and fishing rods are other great examples of a third class lever. There are many third class levers all around you.